Right, we're a little bit behind in Chitas. And I've told this to you a few times already, and I'll tell it to you again. It seems to me, and let me tell you, that that's a totally subjective thing. I don't, in any way, shape, or form, claim to know for sure Pshat in Tanya, especially here. It's very difficult, very vague. And when you read Weinberg's Tanya, Yiddish Tanya, it only helps you a little bit. It doesn't help you enough. But it seems to me that this against the Kedesh can be divided up into 4 sections. The first section is the Ma'ila of Tefillah over Teireh Mitzvahs. That's the first Amid, Kufnun Hey Amid Aleph. The second section is the Ma'ila of Mitzvahs over Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem, and even Torah, which is not Negela Ma'isa. That's Kufnun Hey Amid Beis, Kufnun Vav Amid Aleph and Amid Beis. The third is the Inyan of Mitzvahs versus Neshamas Yisrael. This is how I understand it, which is Kufnun Zayin Amid Aleph and Amid Beis. From the bottom of Kufnun Zayin till the end of the Yeres HaKedesh, which is almost 2 blots, a blot and 2/3, Anerech, he talks about notes, ha'aras. There's 2 notes, 2 things Al-Rebbe wants to add to this Yeres HaKedesh. And this is how he does it. In other words, he gives you the basic Inyan, the mile of mitzvahs and so on and so forth. At the very, very end, he says, I want to add 2 nukudas. So this is the shit of Ches, Kislev. And the first note is on mitzvahs. The first note is short, the second note is very long. The first note is mamish, it's just one shir chitas, just ches. And it's on mitzvahs. The rest of the Yeres HaKedesh, beginning with Tes until Yud Beis, is Teireh. Okay? And the note is asking a very simple question. We talk about the mile of mitzvahs, and we brought out several miles in mitzvahs. First of all, the mitzvahs affect Yechudim, which is called in Kabbalah Ma. Second of all, that mitzvahs affects Birurim, which is called in Kabbalah bringing down Sag. And third of all, when you do a mitzvah, since mitzvah, do it Kelim, Imam Shachalakus, of Atzilas, Mimhus Lamhus Lasi. So the Rebbe now asks, point 1 and point 2 are stire. If the Esrik needs a Birur, then it's not Mavurah yet. If it's not Mavurah yet, when you use the Esrik, you Mamshach Eres of Sag. But if the Esrik is not Mavurah yet, how could you be Mamshach Ma, Yechudim? Because the whole idea of Yechudim is only in Atzilas, only in Tikkun, where everything is perfect. So how could the same Esrig, which on the one hand needs a Birur, also affect Yechudim, which is an Inyan which is beyond Birurim? This is the question. He's asking a question. In other words, this is a note on what he said before about mitzvahs. 2 of the 3 points of mitzvahs seem to contradict one another. How an esrik, that according to what we ourselves said before, it comes with 288 sparks, it needs to be repaired. V'chein klaf atfilin, also klaf of tefillin. Also we said, there's a from birur, yamshich eir bekelim dezun da'atzilus, could bring down light into the vessels of kelim da'atzilus, shekvar nivreru v'nitkenu aydei shema, which means they've already been clarified and corrected. So the Eibush is shema, these beginners of lakus to be godliness. So make up your mind. If the esrik is not yet mavurah, so it can be mamshach sag. If it's already alakus, it can be mamshach ma. How can it be both? So the Rebbe says there's 2 parts what you accomplish through birurim. The explanation of this is as follows. He has riya v'anatir, when you seed or you plant. Right? Riya means planting seeds, and natir means planting a branch. Shagar and me'ed that the seed arouses the power of procreation which is in the earth, and the power of procreation that's in the earth, which was discussed in the Yeres HaKedesh Siman Ches. Shehud Varavaya, which is the words of the Eibishter, Tache Ha'aretz V'Gemer, that the earth should produce grass, Eitz Pri V'Gemer, and fruits. Right? So it's not the seed that produces the grass and the fruit, it's not the branch that produces the grass and the fruit, it's the earth. Okay, how does it happen? But you have to arouse it. By arousing it from Esrusat Latata. In this case, what's the arousal? The seed. The seed is the Esrusat Latata, but the growth is not from the seed, it's from the earth. Kocha, the same is true also in the Nimshal. When you take klaf of tefillin and the fruit of esrog, which have a fetish before the bida, they're klipas neiga. And this is why they're able to be mavarer, by revealing their godly sparks, Adrom Amalis to the highest levels, Shehu Shem Sag, which is going back to Tohu, Shalifnei Ashvira, which is even higher than Shviras HaKelim, right? The sparks of this esrig, now they fell. They come from Ban, but their shadish is Sag, Tayu. Shumahus v'atzmus edus shaba Ak, which is the very essence of the lights of Ak. It's not only a light, as Shema, which comes from the metzach, which comes from the forehead. Okay? Now, Rabbi say, normally, when you speak about Ak, there's three inyanim about Ak. There's something called Einayim of Ak, the eyes of Ak, which is the deepest Madanegis. There's something called Achap the Ak, Aleph Ches Pei, which stands for Oizen Chais and Peh, the nose, the mouth, the ears, the nose and the mouth of Ak. And then there is Mitzchadak, the Metzach, the forehead. From Metzach of Ak comes Atzilus. What's a Metzach? It's a forehead, it blocks. There's no hole. So the light has to break through. The same concept of Bakir we have in the morning. On the other hand, it says in Chassidus, on the Metzach you have Chochmah, Sod, and Torah, upon him is the very Etzem. Sag is Giluyim. It is a connection between the lowest Madrig and the highest Madrig. Sag is Giluyim. The nose and the ears and the mouth have a hole, which means the Oiris of Ak. So when you're Mavadir and Esther, you go back to Sag, which is Mamshech from the Etzem of Ak, which is higher than Ma, which is what Atzilus is, only Ma. Moreover, when you learn the halachas, I suppose it means the halachas of the mitzvahs. So you touch and you arouse the Chabad and the esesfiras of the Kalim of Zah in every world. V'adruma miles to the highest levels, Gamkein. You also arouse Bechinas Chabad Shebesag, the Pnimius Ak. You arouse Chabad, which is in Sag, Chabad of Teyu. And Chabad of Teyu goes to Pnimius Ak, which comes through the eyes, which is the highest Madrig. So when you learn Torah connected to a mitzvah, since that mitzvah is going to affect the birur, the Torah is also an inyan from birur. So it's mamshech the einayim of Ak. The mitzvah itself is mamshech the achap of Ak. Wait. One sec. I'm sorry? You're going... The Torah is more pneumistic, right? The data of the mitzvah, right? And then what happens? What happens when you made it l'mayla? It's mamshech ha'er. So the Rebbe is trying to say that when you are mavader, the pedi of esrig, or the klaf of tefillin, you reach sag. But then sag gives back. What sag gives back, that's the yichudim. The kasha was, how could the same esrig be koydem birur and need birur, and be already mavura to a fevshman? The answer is, it's two steps. You're first mavader, the esrig, and it goes back to its shadish, and then it's mamshach yichudim into atzilus, and that's the ma, that's the pshat. That's the pshat in the Tanya. And the Alter Rebbe concludes, v'chol now, however, this is only speaking, who mitzvahs I say, is only when you're doing mitzvahs, and when you're learning the halachas of the mitzvahs, right? As we already know, the Alter Rebbe made a distinction between learning halachas of mitzvahs, which are mamshach atzmos, and learning stam teira, which is only mamshach giluyim and ha'ara. Avalei belimud prati halachas is a leisa selech. Not when you learn the specific aspects of mitzvahs leisa selech, it would seem. Why? When you're learning the Torah of mitzvahs aseh, later you can do that mitzvah mamshach yichud, right? What do you yichudim when you mamshach through kiyum mitzvahs leisaseh? What yichud do you mamshach through kiyum mitzvahs leisaseh? Nothing, right? So the ikir is when you're doing the limud haTorah of mitzvahs aseh, and mitzvahs aseh, which is negei l'maiser. When you're learning the Torah of mitzvahs leisaseh, avaloi belimud prati halachah is leisaseh l'cheira. You don't bring down the very essence of godliness through learning aspects of Torah, which are leisaseh, because they're not practical, or befrat, and especially but leishchichiklal, such mitzvahs which are totally not practical, the aspects of halachas of pikul and so forth. In other words, the details of mitzvahs, and especially mitzvahs leisaseh, which don't occur in the real world, you're not mamshach the atzmos, you're not mamshach the einayim of sag, the einayim of ak into sag, like you do when you learn a particular part of Torah, which is negei halacha l'mais. Now this v'chol anal is really negei more to tomorrow's shir, to the shir of Tes. You'll see in a moment. But what you have to take out of today's shir is the question was, how could one esrig be la'achar a-bidur and lifnei a-bidur at the same time? And the answer is, it's through the bidur. It goes back to the shayrish, that's the sag part of it, and then it's mamshach l'kus and ta'atzilas, and that's the ma part of it. Is it clear? Next, that's it. You got it, Elisha?